Everybody, let's go ahead and get this. Yes, I spent all morning on that. All right. Hello, everybody out there in internet land. I am here with EmmaLynne Sampson.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. I guess it's
It's-
afternoon for me now, but
oh, that's right. And where are you located?
so I'm in Nova Scotia, Canada, which is like almost as far east as you can get in North America.
And I'm in Southern California, which is just as far as southwest as you can get.
Yep.
All right. So, how is the weather? As everybody knows, last week we tried this, and what happened?
Yeah, so last week we had a big snowstorm here. Happens pretty frequently this time of year in Nova Scotia. And unfortunately, with a big snowstorm, a lot of times there are power outages. So I ended up losing power last weekend for a little bit, but thankfully the weather's much better today. It's still pretty cold, but no snow.
Excellent, excellent. Well, at least we have power now.
Yeah.
So let's give a basic rundown over what you
Mhm.
do with your life, because as
Yeah.
incredible as it may sound, people may not know about you and your
Yeah.
YouTube projects.
Yeah, so I'm Emma. I've had a YouTube channel for just over 4 years now, and that has pretty much been my full-time job for the past 3 years. Um, so I do have a YouTube channel all about my animals, my life with animals. I have quite a lot of animals. And in addition to my YouTube channel, I just recently launched my own business, Beyond the Wild.
All right, and that just launched recently.
Yeah, just 2 weeks ago now.
And how is that going?
It's going good. It's, been definitely a learning journey, but a very exciting one.
Well, give us a little bit of an idea of what a virtual zoo is.
Yeah, so I had this idea to kind of create a virtual zoo because during the pandemic, a lot of in-person zoos, had to shut down. They started doing things online. So I kind of got the idea to just completely create a virtual zoo using the many animals that I have. Thankfully, I have enough that was possible. So I went ahead and did that. So the virtual zoo consists of, photos of the animals, videos of the animals, write-ups of the animals, and the plan is to just continue adding more and more content as I make it and as I get it, because, thankfully with the animals here every day, there's new things that are going on, new things I can talk about, new things I can make videos about. So
Okay.
ultimately the goal is to just keep expanding it.
So they're able to get a membership and
Mhm.
see a day-to-day interaction of what a small zoo would be going
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
All right. And how will that interact with your YouTube channel?
So obviously the animals featured on both my YouTube channel and the zoo are kind of the same animals, but I definitely take a different approach with, I guess, my YouTube content versus the website content. The website content is definitely more educational and I guess informative. Not that I don't do any of that on YouTube, but a lot of my YouTube content is more just fun vlogs, just showing my day-to-day life rather than kind of more formal education about the animals. So even though it is the same animals, it's definitely different types of content about them, different information. So that's kind of good with my YouTube channel because, I can kind of cross promote things. If people
Mhm.
are more interested in the educational side of things, then maybe they'll like the website more than they like my YouTube channel. But, some people don't care so much about that. And maybe they just have more fun on YouTube than on the website.
All right. So for this live session here, this
Mhm.
is what I'm thinking. First, we take a tour of the zoo.
Sure.
Then we do a special meet and greet with some very special chameleons. For
Yeah.
those that you don't know, Emma has a pair of giant yellow Parsons chameleons, which are very rare. And so
Yeah.
we're going to get a meet and greet in person,
Oh,
and then a question and answer session. How about that?
yeah, that sounds awesome.
All right. Well, then, everybody, let's see if I can make this happen to where we're actually going to bring up the zoo. Let's see. There we go. All right. So, Emma, could you give us a tour of the zoo? I'm going to try my best to look at two screens. There we go.
All right, so right here, this is just the homepage for Beyond the Wild. So on the homepage, if you scroll down, you'll see a few different options. The first one being a tour of the zoo. So you can start that tour if you want. However, this tour is just the shortened version. Basically the free version, you don't need to be a member to access this one. So this one only features 12 animals, whereas the full tour has quite a few more.
All right. Would you like to take a look at that portion of it?
I guess we can go right to the full tour because it does have all of the other animals that are in this one as well. So if you want to open up the membership tab, that's where you'll find that one.
And I actually am a member. I got the full.
Wonderful.
Okay.
There, so on this one here, you can now scroll down and you can access all of the animals' information cards. A couple of them have videos. Like I said, I do plan on just continuously adding videos as we have them, so there will be more coming. But right now there is 3 or 4 videos up there, along with a bunch of the information cards and photos of all the animals.
Oh, I love the Chihuahua, and I know we've got a video for the Azurius. Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Beautifully got. Okay, well, let's see.
In the wild, poison dart frogs are some of the most...
Okay. We don't have to go through the entire video there, but we have videos, and you have a wide range of reptiles here: snakes, lizards, amphibians.
Yeah, and so right now we do only have reptiles and amphibians on the website, but there will be a couple birds and a few mammals being added very soon as well.
Okay. Mammals? Oh.
Not many, but I do have rabbits, so they'll be on there soon.
Need something that's nice and fluffy.
Yeah.
You've got, okay, so you definitely have a lot of animals here.
Yeah.
Oh, Montium. Oh, we hardly ever see Montium. So nice. So how aggressively is this zoo going to expand? Because I know if you gave me an excuse, Bill, you're in charge of a zoo. Oh my goodness, that would be trouble.
Yeah, so I honestly don't see it expand, like as far as the animals that I have go, I don't see expanding it too much very soon, mostly because I am pretty much out of space at this point. I pretty much have as many animals as my space will allow for, so I don't see many new animals getting added until I possibly have more space, which is definitely something I would love to work towards, especially, you know, having the online zoo and stuff. I would love to eventually work towards having an actual facility that the animals would live in, that people could possibly come and visit. But as of right now, I'm limited to the space of 3 rooms.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go back to the top because since we are chameleon people here, we are immensely interested in Felix here.
Yeah.
Could you give us some background on Felix and just what it's like to have Parsons
Yeah.
Chameleon?
So that photo there is of Felix, and now that photo is actually about 2.5 years old at this point. So
Okay.
he has grown actually a very significant amount since that photo was first taken. But he's a fantastic chameleon. I mean, the Parsons chameleons, I am just absolutely in love with. Their personalities are so amazing. And it's really been interesting seeing how, I guess I've had them for about 2.5 years now, and it's really been interesting just seeing how they've gotten comfortable with me, gotten used to me being around. Like just like 15 minutes ago before we started this, and I went to get Felix and Fiona. Both of them just walked right out onto my hand when I put it in front of them, which is not anything they ever would have done a year ago.
Yeah,
So
that's not standard chameleon
no,
behavior.
it takes a lot of work to get to that point.
And I gotta say, Parsons Chameleons, they just have that incredible personality. It's very
Yeah.
defined, and you start to think you're having a friendship with your chameleon. So it's
Yeah.
unique.
Because when I first got them, it took almost a year before Felix would even just accept a feeder insect from my hands.
Uh-huh.
Whereas Fiona, she did that way, way sooner. It
Okay.
only took a few weeks of owning her before she would eat from my hands. But yeah, Felix took about a year before he would accept hand feeding from me. But at this point, he'll accept hand feeding from pretty much anyone who offers him something.
And so, are they comfortable perching on your? Well, I guess not your hand, your arm.
They're both pretty comfortable with it. Felix, again, it took a while to get to that point. The first little bit, anytime I had him on my hand, he was just immediately black.
Okay.
Immediately black, and yeah, not happy, but thankfully he's a lot better with that now, and same with Fiona.
Okay. Well, before we get into meeting them in
Mhm.
person, how about we take a couple of questions about your zoo?
Yeah,
And
sure.
so, anybody have questions about Emma's virtual zoo? And we've got actually, let's see, I can bring this up. This is Sean Widows is asking, are you breeding at the zoo?
Am I breeding? So I am currently breeding a couple species. The primary species I'm breeding right now are Malaysian cat geckos.
Okay.
I've been successfully breeding them for about a year now. In addition to them, I have an egg incubating from a Thacodactylus oscroboprenorium. It's a very, very complicated name.
Hmm.
I'm hoping to breed some crested geckos in the future, and I'm also hoping that eventually I'll have success with Felix and Fiona. I
Oh my
have
goodness.
I have attempted with them unsuccessfully so far, but hopefully one day.
Okay. And you knew this question is coming, so we'll go ahead and try. Uh, uh, Zelly Zonner, or Kelly Zonner, she says, loves pictures and info. Are you live streaming any enclosures?
Yeah, so as of right now, no, there's no live stream setup at the moment, but it is something that I definitely want to look into more. The only issue is the fact that all of the animals live within my house. So with everything being in my home, there's some just like, logistical reasons as to why a 24-hour live stream may not be the best idea. But I'm working on trying to figure out something because with some of the animals, especially in like the bigger enclosures like my Parsons chameleons, I think that could be really cool.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And then everybody would see just how much Parsons don't move during the day.
Yeah.
Okay, so for everybody out in internet land, uh, with the chat, whenever you put in
Mhm.
questions, if you are on YouTube watching this, we can see your name, and so we'll be able to address you. If you're on Facebook, Facebook likes to be very private, and they're not going to tell us who you are. We just see Facebook user. So if you want to be identified as to who you are, I mean, I can see you because I got my little monitor here that has Facebook up. Just put at the end of your question, dash your name, and then it's easy to know who we're talking to. So, uh, Do you know Chris Young?
Yeah.
Here it is. Any chance you'll ever work together with Chris? Okay. I guess why he's asking that is because Chris works with Parsons as well.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully someday it'd be fantastic if we got to the point that here in Canada we had enough people working with Parsons that, we could trade babies and stuff.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fair, but okay. All right. Oh, well, there you go. You got a personalized hello and thank you from Richard.
Hello.
And, hey, great question.
Have you made merchandise? I have. So if you go on the Beyond the Wild website, there is a shop section, and then that will take you right to our Teespring store. It's not actually integrated into the website yet, but the link will take you right to the Teespring shop. I did look into making my own merchandise rather than using something like Teespring, but where I'm in Nova Scotia, if I was shipping things from Nova Scotia, it costs $45 every time I need to mail something out. So yeah, but there's lots of merchandise on the Teespring store there. There's a few different designs, such as the Beyond the Wild logo designs, but then there's also a few different animal designs, including Fiona, the Parson's chameleon.
Yes, and something that's very cool is each one of these designs is of an animal that's in the zoo.
Yeah.
Face mask, skink. Oh, there's Fiona. Excellent, excellent. All right. Let's see. Oh boy. Okay. Let's go ahead and bring people up here. This is Nikki saying she loves the idea. Can't wait to see more content. What is the membership cost for the zoo?
So the membership cost for the zoo is $8.99 Canadian dollars per month. So if you're outside of Canada, the currency rate will exchange, but it's $8.99 Canadian.
Okay. And this is from Uli, is asking, how do you travel? Can you, who can take over? Originally, I was thinking if she was asking if you would travel for the shows, and I know she's in Southern California, so I think this is a great question. Anyway. No, so how do you travel and who can take over?
This is a question that I get a lot. I think, when people see how many animals I have, that's one of the immediate questions that I get. But I actually travel a lot. Not so much recently with the pandemic going on, but I used to travel a lot. Thankfully, I've always had someone who I can rely on to take care of my animals while I'm gone, whether it's been a family member, a friend, a pet sitter I hire. But thankfully, I know enough people who know stuff about animals that I've always been able to find someone. Basically it's just knowing people who are able to and willing to. I mean, typically you have to pay them, but
yes. All right, guys, let's go ahead and let's meet Felix and Fiona.
Yeah, so 1 second. I actually have Felix right over here. You can see him on the branch. And Fiona, she went for a little walk. She's down there now. I'll go ahead and grab them.
Okay. All right. And, answering, yes, she Moon over Miami. Yes, she does live in the zoo.
That's a funny way to put it.
Yeah, just trying to catch up on some questions here. Someone's asking, what's the most expensive animal in the zoo?
Well, that would be Felix right here.
Well.
So here's Felix.
Hello, Felix. Now, everybody, just a little background here. There's a number of different locales of Parson's chameleon. You've heard orange eye, yellow lip. Those are the most common. And you've heard of Parson, Kaluma parsoni Christopher. That's a subspecies. Mm-hmm. Well, there are a couple of locales that are very rare, much more rare. And this is one of them. It's the yellow giant. And when you see these in person, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, one thing you don't think about is how powerful those little claws are.
Yeah.
So what's it like holding a Parsons?
So it used to be much more painful than it is now that they're a bit more used to me. But at first, when you would handle them, and even sometimes now, their feet just absolutely pinch right into your flesh and they dig right in there. They're very strong. It's not even just their nail that hurts, but it's just how much pressure they they have in their feet.
And what's fun is after you've spent an afternoon handling Parsons chameleons and then going into the shower and using salt scrub.
Yeah, I always end up with a whole bunch of little red dots all over me after I hold them.
Yes, and Linda D is coming up with a very good question. He's asking, is he black because he's upset? He's supposed to be a yellow giant.
Yeah, so he's not overly yellow right now. He's pretty dark. And yeah, that is mostly just because, I'm holding him and he's in an unfamiliar room. This isn't the room that they normally live in, so he's in a whole new space. I'm standing right behind him talking, and he's probably just he's not overly happy about the situation, but he'll be okay.
And he's looking at the camera because we all know that chameleons hate cameras.
Oh yeah, every time I try to bring the camera around.
Yeah, don't all chameleon keepers, or most chameleon keepers, no. You bring a camera around and all of a sudden the chameleon just goes ugly.
Yeah,
It
he
says, I
doesn't
hate you.
like the camera, and he also, if you wear any sort of yellow clothing around him, he'll go like this right away.
Is that it?
Yeah.
His color is yellow?
Yeah, we discovered it when my boyfriend just walked in front of his enclosure wearing a yellow sweater, and immediately he was not having a good time.
Yeah, I had a Mellors where red was the color.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and sometimes it's when I wear a cap. Oh, then all of a sudden, who's this stranger? So, all right, and so that's a male
Yeah.
giant yellow Parsons chameleon.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and meet Fiona.
Let's get Fiona. Put Felix back on his branch here.
He's going, finally.
There he goes. So
How do you house chameleons that big?
Yeah, so let's get Fiona and then we'll cover that question. There we go. So Fiona's shedding a little bit, as you can see.
Oh, nice, pleasant green.
Mm-hmm. So both of my Parsons chameleons have enclosures that I built with my dad. There are not really many store-bought options that, will work for Parsons right into their adulthood. So they lived in store-bought enclosures for a little bit when they were smaller, and then as they started growing, we went ahead and designed some enclosures for them. So their current enclosures are just made out of a mixture of wood and screen stapled together. But they measure 7 feet tall, 5 feet wide, and 3 feet deep. So a lot of space.
That's a good amount of space for them.
Yeah.
And here we have a question from Neptune. Details about breeding as to how is it going?
Yeah, so I have not successfully bred them yet. I haven't gotten any eggs or anything, but the times that I did attempt to breed them, I saw very many promising signs, especially from Felix. He was immediately head bobbing. Fiona wasn't overly annoyed by him. She was fairly receptive. He was chasing her around, following her, but he just never made a move. And I think that in order to fully be successful, I'm gonna have to cool them down more. That's been the hardest struggle, is just getting the temperature cycles and stuff correct, especially like solely keeping indoors. So but hopefully with a bit of trial and error we'll be able to get there.
Well, how is keeping them? Are you able to keep them
Mhm.
outdoors at all? And how does that
So
fit in?
yeah, so here in Canada, they would probably do all right outside for, I would say you could probably put them outside in May or June, just depending on where in Canada you live.
Hmm.
And they would likely do okay outside throughout most of September, but it just gets way too cold here throughout the winter, unfortunately,
Uh-huh.
to keep them out year long. I don't know many chameleons that would appreciate the Canadian winters, so.
Yeah. Well, we have a question from Uli about brumation.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah,
that
so
something that you use as part of your husbandry?
yeah, so it is something I've done, like temperature cycles and stuff, but I have not been able to get it cool, like as cool as I would like. The difficult thing is with, so many reptiles, I can't cool down the entire room because there are other animals in there that need a bit warmer temperatures.
Hmm.
So I've been doing what I can to cool down their individuals' enclosures, and I've struggled to get it really below 16 degrees Celsius. That's been about the coolest I've been able to achieve by using fans and foggers and a mix of all these different things.
Okay. Well, let's talk about what chameleon being a chameleon keeper is like in Canada.
Yeah.
Uh, what's the community like?
It's definitely a lot smaller than it is in other parts of the world. I don't know too many chameleon keepers in person. Most of the chameleon keepers I know are all online. There's one other guy here I can think of who keeps chameleons, and he actually kept a pair of Parson's chameleons, so that's pretty cool.
Okay.
That's how I actually got introduced to them and got into them, was by pet sitting his Parson's chameleons.
Oh,
But yeah, there's not a whole lot of us.
all right. Well, that would be exciting if you were able to breed those two.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you mentioned you're not looking at expanding the zoo, but
Hmm.
we know that chameleons really don't count in that. Do you plan on getting more chameleons?
See, chameleons are one of the hardest thing for me to, I guess, get more of because of how much space they need.
Yeah, that's true.
Even I guess I've thought about it before, and the next chameleon that I would like to get at some point is just a nice, beautiful panther chameleon. It's a
Oh, yeah.
chameleon species, that a lot of people have, are very common, but I've never kept before. But I just don't have the space for another enclosure that size right now. I'm not sure when I will, but
Hmm.
if I do at some point, then that'll be the next chameleon that I get.
You know, carpet chameleons, little mini panthers are.
Yeah, and see, I did have a carpet chameleon, although she passed away in August, I believe.
Hmm.
And I do love carpet chameleons, but their shorter lifespans are, a little sad.
Yeah, I've had carpets before. They're just wonderful to work with.
Yeah.
And yes, I Parsons are incredible. I
Hmm.
I have
And
one.
it's so hard to find carpet chameleons captive bred or anything in Canada. My last one that I had was a captive bred baby who I got. But as far as I know now, I don't know of anyone breeding them anymore, unfortunately.
All right. Well, we do have one question from, let's see, what we got from Daniel is asking about what's a good temperature for them at night.
I guess it depends on, what time of the year it is, and if you are going for like seasons, because if it's the winter time and you're trying to cool them down, you'll want to go a bit cooler than if it's the summertime and you're putting them into their nighttime temperatures. During the summertime, when it's a bit warmer, they typically are kept around the low. I'm in Canada, I use Celsius here. So I typically keep them in the low 20s throughout the day. So in Fahrenheit, that's typically like high 70s, I believe, low 80s maybe. And then at nighttime during the summer, they typically drop just a couple degrees, maybe around 20 Fahrenheit or 20 Celsius, which is 68 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
But during the winter, you know, if I'm trying to cool them down, like I said, the coolest I've really been able to get it is 16 Celsius. But for a like successful brumation, I would want to get it a few degrees cooler.
Okay. All right. So let's open it up for any more questions about the zoo, about Parsons chameleons, or cat geckos, or anything else that
Yeah.
Emma is doing. Though we do have a question from the lizard wizard, wondering what kind of locale panther chameleon you would get.
I'm not too sure. See, my issue is I'm very indecisive and I like them all. It's
Okay.
so hard to choose because there's so many pretty ones, but I do really like ones that have a lot of yellow on their body.
Okay.
So probably look into that. But yeah, I'm not really sure. And again, here in Canada, there's not too many people breeding them. So my options might also be a bit limited as to what breeders have available.
Well, how's the response from the zoo? Is the community noticing it and coming
Yeah,
to your doors?
I've gotten a decent response so far. I haven't really even talked about the zoo a whole lot on my YouTube channel yet, though, because I've been so busy working on the zoo that I've kind of forgotten about YouTube a little bit the past few
Mhm.
weeks. So I'm hoping that once I get back into YouTube a little bit more and share it there, I'll be able to expand the community even more. But so far, it has been quite good.
Okay, that is great to hear.
Yeah.
It's for those who don't know, I also work on a podcast called the Reptile Entrepreneur Podcast, which deals with people trying to uh, start businesses and become content creators in the reptile world. And so this is just a wonderful example of somebody who had an idea and just went for it.
Yeah.
And so Linda D has a question. What's the name of your YouTube channel?
So my YouTube channel is just my name. You can find it by searching EmmaLynne Sampson. Probably come up just under Emma Sampson as well. But yeah, EmmaLynne Sampson.
And you know what? Hey, wait a minute. I have the ability to bring things like that up.
Awesome.
That's it. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? No, that's a complication we don't need to get into right now. So, yeah, and it's a great channel. You can see all sorts of reptiles that she's got there. So
Yeah.
I have questions about your cat geckos. I know
Yeah.
I'm a chameleon guy, but let's talk about those cat geckos.
Yeah, sure.
Let's tell us a little bit about how they're doing.
Yeah, so my cat geckos are doing really well. The breeding is going really well. My two females, they're still both currently laying eggs. I'm expecting them both to drop a clutch really soon now, like any day, any day now. I've had a lot of babies hatch over the past year. I have a couple eggs incubating still. So overall, things have been pretty good with them.
All right. I am right now. I'm looking through your entire zoo. I'm looking for them so I can bring it up
I
so
don't
people.
see. I don't think the cat geckos are there yet. I'm pretty sure theirs are going up soon.
Oh, okay. Well, that may be
Yeah.
why I can't. Well, okay. So this is what we're gonna do. There we go. There's a cat gecko.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
So okay, we're going to go ahead and take the last of the questions. Oh my goodness! Well, I was not looking at the questions. We got a lot of nice, great ones. Neptune's got a very good question here. What's the biggest challenge of starting the zoo?
It's hard to honestly point it down to just one. I think I would honestly say just time management, finding the time for it, both like mostly when I was in the process of creating it, you know, especially in the early stages, it was really hard to, I guess, motivate myself and find the time to work on it when it still felt so far away. And yeah, so just honestly starting was the hardest part. It took me a very long time to really just get started and actually get it going.
Now, usually when we start these projects, once we get started, it's exciting and we get through a lot of it. Where was the
Yeah.
point where you got over that excitement and looking at it saying, "Oh my goodness, there's so much more to do"?
Honestly, like maybe a few weeks before it launched.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, because before that, I felt like, I had so much time. It didn't really matter, but because even before I picked a launch date, it was like, okay, well, I can just work on this whenever I want, whenever I have the time. But then in November, I decided, okay, I want to launch in the new year. So once I had that date in mind, it put a bit more pressure on it. So, but at this point, I wasn't too worried because, I still have 2 months before it happens. So it really kind of only hit me a few weeks before, and then I was like, oh my gosh, it's 2 weeks away and I still have so much that I want to do.
All right. Jason is asking, what's the response from the zoological community?
Yeah, so I have gotten a pretty good response. I wouldn't say it's reached like a ton of people yet in the zoological community, but I actually used to be a zookeeper for a CASA accredited zoo. So, a lot of my friends on Facebook and stuff are other zookeepers. And a lot of the ones, who I'm close to, who I still talk to, have been very excited and just really interested to see how this kind of new thing goes. So overall, it's been pretty good.
Okay. And where did your love for animals start?
Definitely back when I was a child, I used to love going outside and finding whatever animals I could. I always loved reptiles, but here in Nova Scotia, there's not a whole lot of native reptiles. We have 5 species of snake and a couple turtles, and that's it. There's no lizards or anything. All the snakes that we do have are really small, and you don't really see them that often. I've never even seen all 5 species yet. I've only seen 3 of them. So yeah, I was actually not as into reptiles as a kid as I ended up being later in life. But as a kid, I loved insects. I loved caterpillars, butterflies, tadpoles. I used to love catching tadpoles at the lake, salamanders, things like that. And yeah, so my love for animals was just always there as long as I can remember. And my parents did get me like a few pets and stuff when I was a kid, so I guess they were fairly supportive in that aspect. Maybe they regret it now, seeing what that all turned into, but we did have a few pets growing up, so I was just always really interested in animals. So when I kind of graduated school and had the freedom to do what I wanted, I knew it was animals.
Okay. How did it get a reptile theme to it?
Yeah, see, I honestly don't really know. I guess it's more of just something I learned through experience of actually keeping different animals. I've kept a lot of non-reptile animals as well. I've kept hamsters, mice, hedgehogs, rabbits, all of those things. And while I do love a lot of those animals, I don't know, the reptiles were just more my thing. The reptiles were more what I was interested in. I think it's really cool how many different species there are, how much variety there is. When it comes to reptiles, if you like really big animals, you can get really big reptiles. But if you like really small ones, then you can also do that. So I feel like there's just a lot of diversity when it comes to reptiles, and that's really interesting.
Okay. Claire's asking, is she also a yellow giant?
Yeah, so she's not yellow at all. She's, a very beautiful green color, but she is also a yellow giant like Felix. They look very different though.
And this is an appropriate question because Parson's chameleons between the different locales,
Yeah.
it's very difficult
Yeah.
to tell which female goes where, kind of like panther chameleons.
Oh yeah. Again, one of my friends who lives here that I said kept Parson's chameleons in the past, he had a pair of orange eyes. And yeah, I mean, I could not tell the difference between Fiona and his orange eye female.
And Rosario is asking, how much and how often does he eat?
Yeah, so these guys eat a lot. And now, especially here in Canada, we don't have access to roaches at all. We don't have any sort of dubia roaches or anything like that. So I'm mostly using smaller feeder insects like crickets, superworms, whatever else I can get. So if I'm feeding them crickets, these guys will they'll eat about 20 crickets at a time. And yeah, they'll eat a couple times a week. I don't have them on any sort of like strict schedule. I've honestly found when it comes to reptiles, it's better to not have them on a schedule, because I find when you have them on a schedule, they learn that schedule and then that can lead to picky eating. So sometimes they might eat 3 days a week. Sometimes they might only eat 2 days a week. Sometimes they might eat 4 days a week. So, but typically, I guess 3 to 4 days a week.
Picky eating from a sky. I've actually, that's new to me.
Yeah. And, probably not so much with chameleons, but with reptiles like snakes, I find it's really common. If a snake is always fed on Saturday, I find they're more likely to refuse food because they know it's coming next Saturday. So.
Okay. Since on my feeding schedule, I am all over the place, and there's no, I don't have a schedule at all, so I wouldn't run into that, but
Yeah.
I'm going to keep an eye out for it. That's interesting.
And I find it's definitely more prominent in certain species, but a lot of times when people have issues with like their snakes not eating, one of my go-to advice is feed a bit less and don't feed on a schedule, and the snake will start eating because they don't know when food is going to be available next.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about spoiled.
Yeah. Our spoiled active reptiles.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start closing this down. Emma, is there anything else you'd like to share with everyone before we say goodbye?
Yeah, it's nothing specific. Just if you want to check out my YouTube channel, then that is EmmaLynne Sampson. Or if you want to check out my website, you can find that at beyondthewild.ca. I would super appreciate you checking out either of them. Any support just goes towards helping me and my animals. So yeah, if you want to check that out, then I would really appreciate that.
All right, everybody, thank you very much for joining me and Emma here this morning. It's been a fun thing to do on a Saturday morning. And Emma, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your Parsons with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
All right.